they're great cooks, but I had to keep my kid and I off the street. And that's a really big motivator. So while they were out hanging out, drinking after the show, I was up in my hotel room reading, learning, studying. I go into the test kitchen. They have a test kitchen for you.
This episode of Grounded in Maine is sponsored by ESG Review. ESG Review magazine is published quarterly in February, May, August, and November and is available for free in print and digital formats. ESG Review is devoted to environmental, social, and governance strategies, technologies, and investments. ESGreview.net is updated every Wednesday with 8 new stories and is home to feature articles, news items, and more. Visit esgreview.net to stay informed and help us spark the collaboration and awareness needed to develop sustainable economies and communities around the world.
There's a place where there's no trouble, no more pain, no more struggle.
Grounded in Maine podcast is an open conversation about how we show up for the world. I started this podcast out of a desire to learn new ways to be sustainable because the word sustainability is big. It can be overwhelming, and I just wanted to learn, different ways to try to be part of the solution and not feel like it's too late. So I'm talking to people who are doing different things and learning so much. I hope you are too. Hi there. Thank you so much for listening to Grounded in Maine today. My name is Amy Fagan. My guest today, you may have seen on the Food Network television or probably other food TV shows. Her name is Monti Carlo. I did not know this about her, but I do now. I happened to see her on Instagram, and she was doing these great little stories or reels about food saving techniques, and I just loved that. And so I kept watching. And one day she did a story on her story, which is her motivation for why she's doing these reels, and I was completely smitten. So I invited her to be on the podcast, thinking, not knowing that she was a really big deal. And now that I know she was a really big deal and she still said yes, I was floored. Monty has a huge heart, and she has so much passion for food and food waste, of course. So I'm thrilled to share this with you guys. I hope that you enjoy it. If you don't mind, if you do enjoy it, please share it with somebody that you think would also get something out of it. And feel free to leave a rating or review or review. And then check out the show notes. I've got lots of links in there. Monty's got some links. So if you don't mind just bringing a little traffic to the show notes, I just want to make sure that people are getting these messages because they are really, really so good. I do need to say, oh my goodness. I have been instructed to advertise for my business. So this podcast episode is also sponsored by Amy's Garden Jam, which is my side business. And if you need any jam for gifts, if you like jam, if you like giving gifts, check out Amy's Garden Jam. And then also the links in the show notes again. I mean, I've got a couple for supporting the show. It doesn't, it does cost money to produce a podcast. I'm doing this on the weekly basis. I've been paying every month for 2 years now almost. And it's not required, but I would definitely appreciate that. The buy me a coffee or hot chocolate is just like a one-time thing. You can also subscribe to the podcast, which would, I think it starts at $3. So, and that's a monthly. But anyway, if you don't mind considering that, that would be amazing. But I'm going to get to Monty now because she is the reason that we're all here. Enjoy this, and thank you so much, as always, for listening. I'll talk to you next week with another great episode. Today, my guest is Monti Carlo, and hi. And Monty, I started watching on Instagram, and some of you guys might have seen her on the TV. Um, but I saw Monty on Instagram, and she's got some really fun videos, and really, really educational, interesting videos. And her tagline is, you want to say it?
Save the food.
Save the food. So we're talking food waste and not food waste. But Monty, thank you so much for joining me today on Grounded in Maine. I really appreciate you hanging out.
Thanks for even knowing anything about me. That's really cool. And for following me on Instagram and for doing what you're doing to raise awareness about sustainability. And I think we all need to help each other out as much as possible, spreading the word. It's going to take a whole lot of people to change the way that, human beings consume.
100%.
Yeah.
Are a lot of the things that you've done like things that you learned from family, or are they like experiments?
Oh, it's really, so I travel a lot and I'll get back from traveling and I'll look at my fridge and I'll see what is there that is not looking so hot. And then I do a bunch of research. What can I do with this? And if it turns out really well, I record it and I talk about it. Because it's really cool what you can do with things that don't look so hot. You know what I mean? And I started doing it because I was throwing out a lot of food. And the more I researched food waste, and I mean, this really all started many, many years ago with me, about probably 14 years ago. I was going through a tough time and I was on welfare with a 2-year-old. And, I really had to figure out how to make ends meet with very little income.
Right.
And food is just one of those things where when you have a 2-year-old, your biggest expense is diapers. So, your budget is going to diapers pretty much. So you got to figure out how to make a lot with very little, and you can't afford to waste it. So that's really kind of where I learned about how to stretch my dollar and how to, make something from stuff that most people would toss out.
That is so inspiring, honestly. I mean, I especially, where that came from, like going through a tough time and you like had to, but at the same time, look at what you did.
I mean, I think that's really the beautiful thing about being a woman is, unfortunately, so many of us are given the opportunity to build it back up,
Sure, I don't know what you're talking about. Uh, yeah. You're cracking yourself up. Yeah.
I mean,
I
I got a divorce, and when I got divorced, if you've been through it, it tends to just be a wrecking ball in your life, not just emotionally, but also financially. And ultimately ended up being my biggest blessing. But it was really, really rough there for quite a few years. And but it's where I learned everything that I needed to know to create this career that I have today.
Awesome.
Thank you.
But yeah, I mean, you have to get scrappy to make ends meet and stuff, and you made it. You made it through.
I did. What's interesting is if you're not familiar with me and you're not familiar with how I started out, which many people aren't, it was like probably 2010, 2011. And I was facing homelessness with my kid because I again, on welfare, couldn't find a job. It's very difficult to find a job as a single parent that will actually cover the cost of what it costs you to have someone take care of your kid while you're at this job, you know? Um, so, I mean, I was literally applying for gigs for over a year trying to find work, and really thought I was going to end up on the streets of Los Angeles, just nightmare situation. All the shelters were full. Like I was researching shelters, and one of my friends who lived upstairs was a camera guy for reality TV. And he was like, hey, if you try out for a reality show and you end up on camera, they have to give you $50. He was full of it. He didn't know what he was talking about, but I bought it hook, line, and sinker. So we were researching like reality show auditions, and it was probably midnight when I saw one for a show called Master Chef, which I'd never seen. And you had to go to the audition with a dish that you had created, and you had to put yourself on the plate. And I mean, at this point, my cupboards were bare. I was basically living off of coffee, because you got to take care of your kid. But I did have some apples, and I had some flour and some butter and cream for my coffee. And I made these little tiny apple pies. I didn't even have enough for like a real size pie. Like I made little tiny like cupcake sized pies, and I didn't have anything to carry them in. I brought them in a diaper box, an empty diaper box, that I put my dog's leash around the diaper box to carry it. And that's how I ended up auditioning for Master Chef. And, people are real fancy that audition for Master Chef. Like they've been cooking, and I had not been, I mean, I knew how to cook. I'm Puerto Rican, so we're raised cooking with our, in my case, my grandparents. But I wasn't a master chef by any means, so what happened during the audition was that they ask you all sorts of culinary questions that I could not answer. They were like, what are the 5 mother sauces? And I was like, ranch, ketchup, barbecue. Like I had no idea what they were saying to me, but they were laughing.
Right.
And so they were like, okay, I think I was the only person from my group that got called back. And they were like, listen, you obviously don't know anything about. They were so straight up with me. They were like, you obviously have no idea.
But you made us laugh.
Yeah, but if you why don't you try to figure it out, and then we're going to give you the opportunity to try out a dish, and Gordon will taste it and he'll decide whether or not you're on the show. And so at that point in my life, as ridiculous as it sounds, it's like, it's so ridiculous, but I had to basically figure out how to be a master chef in order to keep my kid and I off the street. And so, as a woman, you do what you need to do to take care of you and yours. And I taught myself how to cook using dollar store ingredients. And it was an ugly time because it's scary. You're like, oh my God, if I don't do well, I'm going to end up on the street. But I did end up getting an apron from Gordon. And I did end up competing on the show, and I made it all the way to the top 5. And, they don't give you $50 for auditioning. They give you a day rate. So, I was just like, I just got to make it one more day. Every day I was like, just one more day, just get that $50 that they gave you so I could, buy food and pay rent. And it really literally changed my whole life. Like I cannot watch the video of Gordon Ramsay handing me my apron without crying. Even if it's been 13 years, I can't watch it. Because it's changed my whole life. And how many people can say this is the exact moment my whole life changed, and have it on video? That was it.
Awesome. How did your apple pies, did they?
The producers loved the apple pies. they loved them. You know, I mean, I knew how to make dough. I see the story with the apple pies is that you know, couldn't afford therapy, so I would chop apples and pretend they were my ex-husband's face. And it is, I'm like, I had to do something with these apples. So I started making pies. And, you know, they were terrible at first. Um, like my first pie I took out when the smoke alarm went off.
Oh man.
But I got better, you know,
Sure.
and
Tough
yeah, and I
times,
started,
man.
I mean, yeah. Well, really, it was about, again, it's just one of these things where the blessing was the dire straits that I was in because all of the other people competing, they were much better cooks than I was. They had training. A lot of them had been preparing for years to audition. Like they were, I mean, they're great cooks, you know, but I had to keep my kid and I off the street. And that's a really big motivator. So while they were out hanging out, drinking after the show, I was up in my hotel room reading, learning, studying. I go into the test kitchen. They have a test kitchen for you. And after shooting, everyone's exhausted. They don't want to go to the test kitchen. But I was like, I'm a mom. I'm going to be exhausted. Like,
I'm
we,
already tired.
yeah, like, what's another thing? Like, that's mom life, you know? Like, you just learn how to be a zombie and get through your day and not stop. So, but that was my blessing, right? I had this little kid that literally was all of the inspiration I needed to kick ass.
And you did. Okay.
Thank you.
That's amazing. It really is. I mean,
Thanks.
it's just like so. It's so scrappy, really. You're just like, well, I don't have anything to lose, right? So,
Well, yeah, I mean, but that's the blessing. And also, it's all about for me, again, I think that's just what makes women so great in my eyes is that we are scrappy. You know, it's not just me. Women are scrappy. It's hard being a woman. The cards are stacked against you. Period.
right.
That's what it is. And you have to learn to be more, do more, be better, you know, period, in order to get ahead. So ultimately, it ends up being an advantage if you are in a competitive situation because you're already pushing yourself so hard.
Mm. True story. Wow. Ooh. And so then MasterChef and you got into other Food Network shows, you were saying.
Yeah, I mean, that was another cool thing that happened. Like after MasterChef, I went back into radio. I'd been a radio personality and comedian for about 15 years, and I got another show. I got another radio show right after MasterChef. Finally landed a job in Phoenix. Did that for about a year and a half, but I missed being in the kitchen. I did, and I ended up moving back to LA, and I auditioned for this show and it was a terrible audition. The guy that was hosting the show was just the biggest jerk. And he was just like, women don't need to be in the kitchen. And I was like, you're right. I can't believe I'm in here with shoes and I'm not even pregnant, you know, and I was just giving him, well, what else are you going to do at that point, you know, except like just make fun of him. Like that's all that was left. Like, I'm not going to take this guy serious. And so I threw the audition. And obviously, I didn't get the show, but somebody at Food Network, who's not there anymore, Todd Weiser, saw my audition and pulled me in for a different show. And I nailed it. It was crazy. It was crazy. I ended up being on this show called Help My Yelp. And it was one of the coolest moments of my life because I had been wanting to be on food TV since I was in my 20s. And I was almost 40 at that point. And And I finally made a dream come true, and it wouldn't have happened if my whole life hadn't fallen apart. So you see, you got to find the gift.
Ew, yes, absolutely. And then, and as you were, so as you and your kid were hanging out together, and you said that you were like just making videos with him just to like keep him occupied and do something together, and he hated it.
Okay, so Danger is my kid. He's 14. He is just, a 14-year-old dude and bored, by everything. But I want to show him a little bit more about cooking, but I have to figure out how to make it interesting. So I was like, why don't you film me doing some stuff, But the really like the mom brain is like, this will show you, you'll learn these tips. So I'm literally showing them how to do, I teach a lot of cooking. So I definitely need to be teaching my kid how to do it, right? But when your kid isn't really interested, how do you make it interesting for them? And so we started recording these little videos. And I think the first one that we did, literally the first one that we did that he shot, got over 1 million views. It was the craziest thing. I had this bag of carrots that it was completely wilted. And I was so upset because I was going to make this beautiful roasted carrot, but these things were just a hot mess. I'm like, how am I going to fix this? And so I started researching, and some people were like, oh, you put it in water, and I did, and it worked.
Hmm.
Was there anyone more shocked than me? No. But it worked. And I was like, man, if I didn't know this and I live food, I bet there's other people that don't know this. And so we recorded it. It was bananas. And that's how we got started. I don't know. I mean, food waste is a huge problem. It's a huge problem. The UN just released that report that, if you buy 3 bags of groceries, one of them is just being thrown away, period. It's over 30% of the food that we buy, we throw out. And that doesn't even include all that's happening in the supermarkets and at restaurants, at farms. There's just so much food being wasted. As someone who has gone through, hunger in their life and had food insecurity be a major problem in their life, as a child and as a mother,
Be like unacceptable.
it is unacceptable when you think about that we could feed everybody. There's enough food for everyone. We're just not doing a good job getting it to people in need and being sustainable about it, don't get me started about pesticides and all of the other things that we're doing to increase shelf life. It's really decreasing our life. We want to increase the shelf life of these processed foods, but we're decreasing our life because we're eating them.
Right.
It's the most ridiculous. It's also ridiculous. Like the more you learn about it, it's very, I don't know how you feel whenever you start, reading about all this stuff, but it was very overwhelming for me. And so it's like, you have to do something.
Right. Oh, 100%.
So what do? You started a podcast, good for you. I started shooting little videos. But, let's raise awareness and hopefully we can inspire people to save the food and to live greener. And it doesn't mean that you have to become a vegan or live off grid.
Right.
There's all sorts of little things that you can do in your everyday decisions that you make every day that can really, if we all start doing things, can really change the course of the way things are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's sort of my message. And when I first started this, it was out of sort of, the state of the world, the climate change and everything. Just like, it's so overwhelming. And you're like, how can we get out of this? And then, I was like, well, I don't have thousands of dollars to put solar panels. I have solar panels on my house, but it's not, two income family. But you know, everyone doesn't have enough money to put solar panels on their houses and buy a 10-acre farm. And you know, we can't all do that, but we can all do something. There are so many things that we can do. And that's what this is. I'm talking to people who are doing all kinds of different things, container planting and making their own broth. And, you know, there's a lady in California who sews, she uses scrap fabrics to make bags and stuff like that. Um, just like so many people. There's so many things that people can do. And I just want to encourage that.
Yes, and it's important for people to hear those stories because otherwise all you're hearing is the world is ending. That's all you're hearing, you know, and then you're going to have a lot of quit in you. You know what I mean? Because what's the point? But if you're hearing about the great things that are happening, the good news, you know, that can end up being inspirational and that's how you create a tipping point, right? So
Right.
good for you. And thank you for having me on and for thinking I have anything interesting to say, because that's hilarious. But thank you.
Please. Thank you for your videos that are so entertaining and so educational at the same time. Like, come on. I mean, it's just like, what is a story is like, what, a minute or something like that? Is that how long?
Yeah, it's better if it's like 30 seconds. So you just got to spit it out, you
Right.
know?
Attention span is something else.
Yeah.
But
You got
what is your
zero
favorite
seconds.
video that you've done?
What?
Sorry, what is your favorite video that you've done?
I mean, I think it has to be the carrot video
Sure.
because Danger shot it. And I mean, I didn't expect any of it to to go ballistic like that and blow up like that.
Because you said that was
Um,
your first one?
yeah, it was my very first, like, you know, about food waste. I mean, I've been writing recipes about food waste and talking about food waste for many years. I helped launch a now defunct platform called Everything Food, where I created a recipe database where, you know, I gave people tips on what to do with food waste, obviously your broth, you know, like how to make chips from potato skins and all of these like really, you know, basic things that you can do that not a lot of people do because nobody wants to cook anymore. They just want to order Postmates.
Right.
But you know, that increases plastic waste. And
So,
yeah, there's a lot of, so it's really for me, it's interesting because a lot of people that do recipe content online, it's, you know, a lot of ingredients and here's this really cool recipe and this beautiful, gorgeous thing that I made. And I'm in awe of that. But for me, I just want to give a busy person something really easy that they can do that seems really easy to do, period. You know,
right.
because I feel like then they will. Like, I can make complicated recipes. I can do really beautiful, inspired dishes. But I'd rather show you how to make sour cream from cream that's gone bad, you know, or how to make an incredible, easy apple chip. I just did this with apples. You know,
The
people throw
microwave.
out all the time because they're bruised, you know, or you can't get your kid to eat them because they're browned. But put a little cinnamon on it, they won't know it's browned, and a little sugar, and they'll eat it. You know, and it takes 5 minutes in the microwave.
Right.
You know, not even 5 minutes. It's like 5 minutes total for the whole recipe. You have 5 minutes, you
Right.
know, and it's delicious. Like I want some right now. I'm gonna make some after this.
I totally tried your sour cream recipe.
And isn't it cool how easy it is?
Yeah, totally.
It's so easy that you're like,
My brain and all that and plastic and stuff. Yeah.
yeah. And you can make it in small batches. So I used to buy the big tubs of sour cream and it always get fuzzy because I couldn't go through it fast enough, you know, but not anymore. And now I'm on this whole yogurt kick. And I mean, making yogurt is so easy. I'm working on a new one right now about cheese. I mean, making cheese is really easy too. It's ridiculously easy.
Mhm.
And you don't have to worry about
All those
it's
stuff.
yeah, it's so expensive right now. One, two, all the preservatives and all of the, thickening agents and coloring and all of that they add to it, the plastic packaging. You skip all of that. Make your own. It's so easy.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of another one the vinegar one that you did with the carrot tops. Not carrot tops, I'm sorry, strawberry tops, the strawberry vinegar and the strawberry sauce. I did not do that, but I was like, dude, you were like using trash, compost bound strawberries, and you made not one but two different things out of it. I'm like, that
That
is
jam
genius.
is so good with biscuits. That jam is good. But see, as long as you're doing something, right? I'm not a judgy person. So when you get into this kind of sustainability thing, there are a lot of people that can be very extreme about it, and very judgmental. And I think that really, it turns other people off that maybe aren't, into it so hardcore. So for me, it's all about keeping it approachable and easy
Right.
and letting people know, like, you know what? I get people that comment all the time, oh my God, I wish I'd seen this 3 weeks ago when I threw out this. And it's like, be good to yourself. You're doing the best you can. We are living in a terrible time. Like, this is a terrible time. Like, there's so much craziness going on in the world. I can't even watch the news anymore. I can't do it. So be kind to yourself. You're doing the best that you can. But if you can remember this the next time, try not to throw it away.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I have a jam business also, and so I make
Oh,
uh,
nice.
but one of the stores that I sell it at it's a farm store, and the farm store owner, he makes spices, and one of the things that I found, I was like, dude, I can't even believe how crazy cool that is. But like, he makes celery leaf powder, but like the tops of the celery that everyone just throws away or composts, like because they're not pretty and they're leafy and whatever, but you dehydrate those, and
Great.
it's so good because celery has that like natural sodium, and it is in that flavor. Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Well, I mean, that's why it's used as a flavor base in almost every country. You'll see celery as part of, the flavor base of mirepoix. I mean, it's incredible. Add a little salt to that after you dehydrate them, and you've got celery salt. You can do the same thing with garlic skins, onion
That too.
skin.
I did it.
It's crazy. It's hard though. You better have a spice grinder. I did not. I was doing it by hand, and I was like, "Oh, this is my arms day." Like, it is a lot of work,
Yeah.
grinding it by hand, but it was worth it,
Yeah.
in the end. Holy cow, that was a lot. I
Yeah.
ended up grinding it with a bunch of salt, and it came out super tasty.
Yeah. I mean, I just used a food processor, like a small one, and
I'm
it
so
made a good
smart.
amount, but it's like flakes. So it's like onion flakes. That's fine.
Yeah, but put it in your soups, right?
Yeah. It smells like onion rings. I'm like, dude, I'm just
Yes.
so hungry. But
I love making pickled onion rings with pickle juice. Like the pickle juice that's left in the
pickle.
jar.
Yeah.
That was one of my first food waste recipes. Gosh, that was probably 2014.
But yeah, I mean celery leaf powder and the onion rings. I mean onion rings, the onion skins and the garlic skins. I just mix them together because I
Yeah.
they go
Yeah.
together.
There's no rules. Just try to do something and keep it out of the trash,
I
Not
mean, I'm
many
doing
trash
onions and
cans.
garlic at the same time. I might as
Come
well
on.
just all this
Yeah.
together,
They go together. They're like peanut butter and jelly.
right? Oh gosh. So yeah, I just love the videos because they're so smart. They're so smart. And I mean whether your kid cares or not, like they're super helpful. And I hope that you get a lot of good feedback from that.
I just want, honestly, it's so ridiculous. I'm not getting any money for it. I'm not, but I'm doing it because I'm hoping that there's people out there that are going to be like, okay, that's something I can do. You know, that's one thing that I can do. And I mean, I didn't go to college. I'm not going to be curing cancer. It's not, that's not my journey, you know, but you do want to do something to help, you know, and it helps deal with that overwhelming feeling, you know, that you get when you start reading all of the things that are happening. You know, if you start putting something good into the world, I mean, I know it's like so Disney and ridiculous, but that's just me, I guess. I just feel like if you put good into the world, good will happen.
But so Monty, I don't want to take too much of your time. I really appreciate you hanging out. But what does the word sustainability mean to you?
To be sustainable, it means to something better than you found it, you know? So it's really about not just food in your life, but also thinking about the choices that you make and the repercussions of those choices. You know, if you order out every day, all of the plastic that comes with it. If you are buying food, are you doing it with intention, or are you just throwing things out because you're not really thinking about all the things that you have in your pantry and in your refrigerator? And look, we're all busy. You know, life is hard and it's hard to keep a hold of everything. So I'm not saying you have to become like this, you know, jotting everything down and here's the sell by date and the whole nine. But it's just, for me, being sustainable is doing the best you can to leave things better than you found them,
Mm,
which we need to do.
yes, 100%. Awesome. Very cool. I agree with that 100%. Uh,
Thank you.
so if somebody would like to get more of that, find you on Instagram or, follow what you're doing, how can they do that?
Well, you can follow me on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook. My account was hacked, but we're working hard to get it back. At the Monti Carlo. I have a show coming out on Roku. I have shows on Netflix and Food Network and PBS that you can just go to your streamer. And I'm not sure how you search for things because I don't even go that far. You know, like how you have to type things out on a remote control?
Oh, that is
That's
great.
frustrating.
Come
I
on,
can't.
technology.
It gives me so much anxiety. I'm like, I can't. I'm not doing it. You know.
It's like going back to the flip phone.
I know, Drew. The beepers. See, Dios mío. So I won't do it. But if you want to, like, you can just search online too, and all the shows I've done there. And I don't know, and make sure for sure to keep an eye out for my book. It's called Spanglish, and it's going to be out in spring of next year. So yeah, that's happening.
That's very exciting. So Spanglish, very cool. Are these recipes or is this about life? Spanglish.
Well, it's both. So it's really a lot about, you know, finding out that I define myself through food. I'm Puerto Rican, and because I was raised half of my life on the island and half of my life on the continental U.S., it really, I'm not really Puerto Rican enough for the Puerto Ricans, but I'm not really like American enough for the mainland people because I'm, you know, always constantly spitting out Spanglish. Um, and the book is about kind of how I lost it all, but found my whole meaning of life and food. And it doesn't mean that you're gonna find your meaning of life on a cutting board like I did, but I just want to show people, especially women that are going through a hard time, that you can do it and that it's going to be a blessing in the end. Because what's meant for you is going to be yours no matter what.
Awesome.
Thank
Mhm. And what's the new show coming up that's on Roku? Are you able to
you.
say?
I'm not really talk about it too much, but I will as soon as they let me announce it. I'm hoping they're going to let me announce it in the next few weeks. But it's going to be hilarious. It's a competition show, and I'm co-host, which means I don't have to cook, so I won't be setting anything on fire. Hallelujah. Because that was a real thing that was happening in the MasterChef kitchen.
All
I
right.
set it on fire like 3 times.
Gosh. Holy moly. But so I just want people to know, so I'm going to have all these links in the show notes, but if you are not looking at the show notes and just going by what you hear, Monty is spelled with an I, Monti, not like
Monty, Monti.
and then
Yeah, not like the Monte.
right.
Monte Carlo. But thank you for not doing any Monte Carlo jokes. I appreciate that. I usually have to sit through
Oh gosh.
a little bit of that. Yeah.
I got nothing but love for you. But anyway, thank you so much for hanging out. I really, really appreciate it. I love your Instagram and I love your story. I love that you have a happy ending.
Thank you.
Happy next chapter, at least.
Thank
There's no ending yet.
It will be a happy next chapter for all of us.
That's right. Very good. All right. So make sure to look for Monty everywhere you are, and look for the book, which will be out next spring, and keep your eye out for her new show coming up that we're not allowed to talk about yet.
Not yet, but soon.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just want to take a second to thank my guest again for speaking with me and sharing such great information. I love having these conversations with folks. I also want to thank Buzzsprout for hosting the podcast, for Jane Bolduck and her music genius, for Becca Coffron and her award-winning artwork. And thank you for listening. I appreciate that so much. Please check out the show notes for any links and extra information. And if you would like to follow my guest and find out more about them, I'm sure they would love the follow. And if you don't mind leaving a rating or review wherever you're listening, and just help to get this podcast in front of new eyes, that would be amazing. I would really love that. And feel free to reach out to me on the socials and let me know what you're thinking. And if you would like to be a guest on the podcast, please let me know that. I would love to have a conversation with you about sustainability. All right. Thank you again. I hope you have a great rest of the week.
There'll come a day, my mama told me, when I find love to have and hold me, a heart that's strong and so sincere. Just tell me, how do I get there from here? Oh, tell me, how do I get there from here? 'Cause here and now I'm so far down that mercy's bound to find me. We'll find a way to soothe the sickness. We'll heal the ache with sweet forgiveness. Wages of war will disappear. Just tell me, how do I get there from here? I wonder, how do I get there from here? Yeah, 'cause here and now I'm so far down that mercy's bound to find me. that state of grace has finally found me, well, there'll be music, ooh, and good friends around me, and I'll just smile through happy tears